What if I told you that your entire life, your success, your confidence, your happiness, even your income, is being shaped every single day by the thoughts you allow to live in your mind? What if the only thing standing between you and the life you dream of is the way you think? This isn't just motivation, it's transformation, because today you're going to uncover the truth behind one of the most powerful forces in your life, your mindset. This video isn't about hype. It's about rewiring your thinking, rebuilding your belief, and reclaiming control over your future. If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're meant for more but don't know how to reach it, then you need to hear this. Stay with me till the very end, because what you'll discover in the next few minutes could flip a switch inside of you forever. You become what you think about. Let's make sure those thoughts are working for you, not against you. Let's begin. Your thoughts are not just ideas that float around your mind. They are the architects of your identity. Every thought, repeated with consistency, carves a groove in your brain, a neural pathway that, over time, shapes your character, molds your behaviors, and defines the trajectory of your life. If you think of yourself as weak, incapable, or unlucky, you unconsciously create a world that confirms those beliefs, but the opposite is just as true. When you start to think of yourself as capable, resilient, and worthy, you start to behave differently, speak differently, and act with greater intention and clarity. What you think about all day becomes the lens through which you see your opportunities. It becomes the filter through which you interpret challenges. If you wake up every day and dwell on everything that could go wrong, your body reacts with stress. Your focus narrows, your courage fades, and your decisions become hesitant. But when you wake up and intentionally focus on possibility, on growth, and on who you are becoming, your mind and body begin to respond with energy, clarity, and confidence. The thoughts you feed your mind first thing in the morning are like programming code. They dictate how the rest of the day runs. When you adopt thoughts of value and vision, you begin to align your behaviors with a higher version of yourself. You begin to say no to things that don't serve your purpose. You start saying yes to habits, people, and decisions that stretch your capacity. Your thoughts become a compass, and once the direction is locked in, your actions start following with more certainty. You stop drifting and start moving deliberately. You don't become great by accident. You become great by consistently thinking thoughts that call greatness out of you. Your identity is not what others say about you. It's what you repeatedly tell yourself. Your self-image is a mental mirror made up of your dominant thoughts. If those thoughts are small, so will be your life. But if those thoughts are bold, if they are disciplined, if they are rooted in growth and strength, your life will expand to match them. Everything you're building, your career, your confidence, your influence, starts in your mind. So when you catch yourself thinking thoughts of doubt, comparison, fear, or failure, interrupt them, replace them, rewire them, because every thought is a brick, and those bricks are building your future. The subconscious mind is not passive. It is a powerful engine that runs silently beneath the surface, governing your actions, habits, and decisions far more than you realize. It doesn't judge or analyze. It accepts and absorbs. Whatever you feed it, intentionally or unintentionally, becomes a blueprint for how you show up in the world. If you consistently feed it negativity, limitation, and fear, your subconscious will begin to default to those responses. You'll find yourself hesitating in moments that require boldness, shrinking in spaces where you should be expanding, and repeating patterns that don't serve the life you want to build. But if you become deliberate with the content you allow into your mind, if you train yourself to absorb messages of growth, possibility, and value, then over time your subconscious starts to rewire. It begins to align with your vision rather than your doubt. You stop reacting out of your past and start acting from your potential. And this shift changes everything, not because the world has changed, but because your inner programming has. You start to see opportunities where before you saw only obstacles. You find energy where before you felt drained. You begin to speak differently, carry yourself differently, and make decisions that are in harmony with the future you are building rather than the limitations you once accepted. Your subconscious doesn't just influence your mindset, it affects your physiology. It determines your stress levels, your emotional responses, your ability to focus. When it's cluttered with chaos, confusion, and unresolved fear, you operate in survival mode. But when it's rooted in clarity and vision, you operate from a place of power. You make clearer decisions. You move with intention. You act before doubt can sabotage your momentum. Programming your subconscious is not an event, it's a discipline. It means being mindful of what you watch, what you read, who you listen to, and what you repeatedly say to yourself. It means replacing lazy thinking with intentional thinking, emotional reactions with grounded responses, and distractions with focus. Because repetition is how you condition your mind, the more you reinforce a message, the deeper it sinks. And the deeper it sinks, the more it becomes your default operating system. This is why people who constantly say, "I'm not good enough," eventually live that truth. And people who say, "I'm still learning, but I'm getting better every day," grow into a version of themselves they once thought was impossible. Your subconscious is always listening. The question is, what are you training it to believe about you? The brain is a pattern recognition machine. It constantly seeks consistency and familiarity, not because it's lazy, but because it's efficient. When you think a certain way repeatedly, whether it's thoughts of lack or abundance, failure or success, your brain wires those pathways deeper and deeper until they become your default. This is called neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections in response to learning and experience. What you focus on the most becomes your internal compass. If you continually tell yourself you're not capable, your brain builds a highway for that thought. If you begin to repeat, "I am capable, I am focused, I will figure it out," your brain starts to pave a new road, and the more you walk that new road, the stronger it gets. Your thoughts are not passive. They are triggers. Each thought you allow to dwell in your mind activates certain neural circuits, releases chemicals, and influences your emotional state. Think powerful thoughts, and you begin to feel powerful emotions. Think limiting thoughts, and you'll feel small, frustrated, and anxious. The brain responds to repetition. That means the difference between a person who thrives and a person who remains stuck often lies in what they are rehearsing daily in their mind. That's why affirmations are more than cliches. They're declarations of identity. When you declare something repeatedly and with emotion, your brain starts to believe it, even if it wasn't true before. Over time, it works to make it true through your behavior, attitude, and perception. Neuroplasticity doesn't care whether what you repeat is useful or destructive. It will build pathways regardless. That's why people can become experts in self-sabotage without realizing it. They've just practiced it longer than they've practiced belief. But once you understand that the brain can be retrained, you realize you're not stuck. You've just been rehearsing the wrong lines. The key is to interrupt the old scripts and replace them with new ones. And this doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choosing your focus every day, choosing what thoughts get to stay and which ones must be evicted. Your habits of thought become your personality, and your personality shapes your destiny. If you want a different outcome in life, don't just work harder. Start thinking differently and let your brain build the identity that success requires. The results will follow. Your environment silently shapes your thoughts, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. You might not notice it day to day, but the people you surround yourself with, the media you consume, the conversations you engage in, they all pour into your mind and subtly tell you who you are and what's possible. If you constantly absorb negativity, pessimism, and doubt, don't be surprised when your thoughts begin to mirror that energy. On the other hand, if you intentionally create an environment that promotes growth, ambition, and optimism, your mindset will naturally begin to elevate to meet those standards. You cannot plant seeds of success in a garden overrun with weeds of doubt and expect them to thrive. You must till the soil, remove the weeds, and water your ideas with the right influence. If your goal is to build a powerful mindset, then your environment must support that transformation. That means seeking out mentors who challenge your thinking, reading books that expand your world, and listening to voices that remind you of your purpose. It also means letting go of toxic influences, the relationships that drain your energy, the content that feeds your insecurities, and the spaces that keep you small. It takes courage to change your environment because often comfort is disguised as loyalty. But growth rarely happens in comfort zones. The mind needs space to stretch, to be challenged, to encounter new ideas. That space is created through an intentional environment. The brain responds to repeated cues. So when you fill your world with visual and auditory reminders of your vision, you begin to condition your thoughts to align with your goals. It could be as simple as a daily affirmation on your wall, a podcast that fuels your belief system, or spending time in a space where excellence is the standard. Every environment sends a message. Your job is to make sure that message supports the future you want to build. The truth is, most people underestimate the impact of their surroundings. They blame themselves for lack of focus or low motivation, not realizing their environment is sabotaging their progress. If you want to become someone different, someone stronger, more disciplined, more successful, start by changing what surrounds you. Curate your environment the way an artist curates a canvas, with intention, with vision, and with the belief that what you build on the outside will eventually reflect on the inside. Your environment is either helping you rewire your thoughts toward success or reinforcing the patterns that hold you back. Choose wisely. Repetition is the architect of belief. Every single thought that you repeat, every phrase you tell yourself, and every idea you reinforce becomes a brick in the structure of your identity. When you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good at this," or "I'll never succeed," those words don't vanish into thin air. They sink deep into your subconscious, forming the foundation for how you act, what you expect, and the limits you place on your own life. But the opposite is just as true. If you repeatedly tell yourself, "I'm capable, I'm learning, I always find a way," your mind begins to reorganize itself to align with those beliefs. Repetition is not just a motivational tool, it's a neurological command. The brain is wired to adapt to what it hears most frequently, especially when that information is emotionally charged. You become the sum of your most repeated thoughts. What's powerful is that repetition doesn't require perfection. You don't need to believe it fully the first time. You just need to commit to the process of showing up, saying it, and staying with it long enough for your brain to internalize it as truth. This is how you reprogram your mental software. This is how you strip away years of doubt, fear, and small thinking. The brain is a dynamic system. It rewires itself based on experience, exposure, and repetition. So if your old identity was built by repeating limiting thoughts, your new identity will be built by repeating empowering ones. Daily affirmations are not cliches. They are commands. They are seeds. and like any seed, they need time, consistency, and the right environment to grow. Speak them when you're tired. Speak them when you feel like a fraud. Speak them even when you don't see results. Why? Because your subconscious is always listening, and over time, that repetition begins to override the old programming. The reason most people never change isn't because change is impossible. It's because they stop repeating the right things before they take root. They say it once or twice and expect a transformation. But real transformation comes from persistence, not perfection. If you want to elevate your life, you must first elevate your language. Every day you are either reinforcing the old version of yourself or building a new one. That decision is made in the words you repeat, the mantras you live by, and the identity you choose to affirm. Change doesn't start in action. It starts in repetition. And when that repetition becomes your new rhythm, your life will begin to move in harmony with the person you were always meant to become. Your thoughts don't just influence your attitude. They shape your entire reality. This is why protecting your mental environment is not optional, it is essential. Every time you feed your mind negativity, scarcity, or fear, even passively through what you watch, listen to, or the people you surround yourself with, you are giving those thoughts permission to take root and grow. Your mind is fertile ground, and whatever you consistently plant will eventually bear fruit, whether that's confidence and clarity or confusion and self-doubt. You become what you continuously allow inside. If you're constantly around people who doubt, complain, and settle, don't be surprised when your standards begin to lower, your energy begins to fade, and your vision begins to shrink. Influence is contagious, and no one is immune from it. That's why guarding your mindset is not selfish, it's survival. You have to become intentional about the voices you allow to speak into your life. Are they lifting you or limiting you? Are they feeding your potential or feeding your fear? In a world overflowing with opinions and distractions, your greatest responsibility is to remain centered in your own truth. That requires silence, that requires reflection, and above all, that requires discipline. You cannot rise above a mindset you refuse to monitor. What you consume mentally becomes who you are emotionally, spiritually, and even financially. Garbage in, garbage out, but excellence in, excellence out. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to focus on what builds you instead of what breaks you. It's about filling your mind with content, conversations, and challenges that elevate your thinking and stretch your standards. Growth is the result of exposure, and if you never expose your mind to greatness, you'll stay trapped in cycles of mediocrity. People who grow, lead, and succeed at the highest levels are not smarter, they're more selective. They curate their environment like their life depends on it, because it does. When you guard your mind, you don't just protect yourself, you unlock your potential, you become less reactive and more intentional. You stop allowing your emotions to be dictated by noise. You reclaim the power to choose your thoughts and direct your focus, and in that shift, you take control of your identity, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. Protecting your mindset is not a one-time act. It's a daily decision, and over time, that decision determines everything else. Because when you elevate your thoughts, you elevate your life. When you protect your mindset, you protect your future. As we draw this journey to a close, remember that the most profound transformation starts within your mind. Your thoughts are not just fleeting moments. They are the architects of your destiny. When you choose to focus on growth, possibility, and purpose, you reshape your reality. The power to change your life, to break free from limitation, and to become the person you aspire to be is already inside you. It all begins with what you allow yourself to think about every day. So guard your mind, nurture it with positivity and vision, and take deliberate steps to align your thoughts with your highest goals. The path may not always be easy, but every breakthrough starts with that first powerful thought. Thank you for investing your time and energy in this message today. Your commitment to personal growth is what fuels change not only within yourself, but in the world around you. Keep thinking boldly, keep believing fiercely, and keep becoming the best version of yourself. I'm grateful to share this moment with you. Now go out and make those thoughts your reality.